Hey, it's Kaiser here with Total Geek Live, and with me, as always, is the wonderful and majestic Total Geek Live crew, Danny, Guy, Baltimore, and I already introduced myself. I'm Kaiser, and we are bringing to you our thoughts on the Joker. Well, on Joker, not the
Not
Joker,
the,
just
but just Joker.
One
Joker.
of many.
That hurts. I can see why he was crying. All right, so
Beautiful, beautiful.
this, for some reason, has entered into controversy. I really don't even want to talk about that. This is a movie that took a decided approach and executed that approach, and we watched it. Now, y'all feel free. I said y'all. Damn, I've been Texas too long.
You mean like your life?
Well,
I've left.
I did a
So,
little I did a little research on the whole thing, not wanting to talk about it too much because really at the end of the day nothing happened. I mean, I think there was one false uh, evacuation scare that happened in California and that's about it. But, in
yeah.
terms of mass chaos in the street and everybody turning into jokers like the movie itself was going to trigger all this other crazy stuff. No, it didn't happen. At the end of the day, it was a movie.
Exactly. I've seen more disturbing movies. You
Yeah.
know,
Right.
there has been more disturbing content put out there, but because an iconic, character is applied to this, which means it'll reach hopefully a larger audience. The fear of like, oh my God, is it going to incite? It's like, shut up. It's a movie about mental illness and society and the shit it could do to a person.
Yeah.
And that's. Are we doing spoilers, non spoilers?
um,
Do you have the
I,
spoilers loaded
I
up?
I can put the spoiler free, or I can put the spoilers up. Whatever you want to do.
Uh,
Well, I
do
guess
we?
we can do a basic plot synopsis of just what the whole thing is about.
All right.
Yeah, it's
So
about a guy who had a few bad days, and then he's like, I
Well,
edited myself there.
I think I mean that's definitely the short of it because the whole thing about the Joker is he always talks about all it takes is a bad day for someone to lose it and just go completely crazy. In this case, Arthur Fleck took about what 2-3 weeks
2 weeks.
max.
Yeah.
Took about 2 weeks to go crazy,
The
and it was a series.
transition period of it.
Yeah, he had been there, but this was just the transition from where he was to what he became.
And it wasn't some normal happy-go-lucky guy that was just skipping down the street and stubbed his toe and went cuckoo. Uh, they
Yeah,
very clearly established that he had issues right from the start. This was for this character, it was kind of inevitable.
Yeah.
and oh god, we're spoiler free. Are we doing spoiler free, or are we just gonna go into it
We're
I
we're,
think
we're
Kaiser
spoiler
was
free right
fast and
now.
nice. Let's do
Okay,
spoiler free.
All right.
okay,
So
let's do
switching
spoiler.
over, and now look, it's spoilers, people. So if you have not
Oh,
seen
okay.
this movie yet, then pause this video right now.
And go watch the movie, then come back and tell us how much you love us,
That's right.
because you know you do. So I found it interesting that they tied mental illness into genetics
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
in this, and very specifically, like his mother had a very specific delusion that
Narcissism. Yeah.
he himself suffered of narcissism and just creating a fantasy in their mind that they truly believed was true.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And the movie, I didn't buy it hook, line, and sinker, but I was apprehensive when they laid the plot line of is Affleck or Alter
Arthur Fleck.
Arthur Fleck I just keep thinking of him as Affleck. Affleck.
Arth
Um,
Fleck.
Arthur Fleck. It's like they try to tease, like, ooh, is he, Thomas Wayne's illegitimate son? Is he Bruce Wayne's brother? Are they putting that spin on it?
Mm-hmm.
And they teased it, but they didn't go down that road. And then they tease, oh, are they gonna recreate? Are they gonna end the movie and recreate the end of Tim Burton's Batman and have Joker be the killer of Wayne's parents? And I know I'm jumping way ahead, and we'll discuss minutia up to this point, but um, the way it played with those it was baiting you. It's like, oh, it's gonna be this, so it's not. Oh, it's gonna be this, so it's not. It's but in a good way, and not in the Ryan Johnson, Last Jedi subverting expectations way, but
See that?
in a fun ish narrative of, because going into this movie you don't know where it's going. You really don't.
See,
And I'm sorry, I've had the floor.
I'll just have to disagree with you with that part, because I felt that was just their way of kind of trying to prove to you this is a DC movie. This is a DC Batman movie. Batman, DC, Gotham,
Right.
just to remind you that, just remember, hey, we're serious here. The DC movie.
But why so serious?
Right. Right. But so that's where I was getting a lot of that from. Um,
Well, yeah, a lot of it felt like, and I believe, Guy, in your research, you said that he wanted to do this movie for years. He just tagged the Joker onto it at the last. Or
Uh,
who did I hear that from?
that was probably from me. One of the things that I read from Todd Phillips, he's actually the guy who directed all the Hangover movies. It's quite of a different turn for him in light of that. Um, but the whole thing was, I think he's always wanted to make this movie. He just felt it was easier to sell if you put the Joker license to it. And okay, well, here's a fair question for everybody. If you took away all the Wayne family mentions in Gotham City and the name Joker and Arkham Asylum, if you took all that away and you still had the same film, would it really change anything?
I would have enjoyed it
No.
more.
Me too.
And no clown thing. Make it something else. Make it
Even the
whether
clown
it's
thing
a
would work for me. I mean, him having a laughing disorder and working for a clown for hire service,
okay, but make it more of a
you know,
clown and
Mm.
not a Joker
Joker.
clown. Yeah, if it was more of a Bozo the Clown kind of thing, or something like that, especially with the '70s tone,
yeah.
since Bozo was huge back then. Going with that, I would have enjoyed this movie a whole lot more than I did.
Yeah.
So I'm
Well,
getting that Baltimore and Danny really didn't like it, or didn't liked it but didn't like it was tied into the DC universe.
Uh,
Both.
I felt Joaquin Phoenix. People are saying his performance was great and everything. I feel there are other actors who could have done just as good a job. Now they may not have put their body through the kind of torture that he did,
hmm
to really sell that part. That I'll give him credit for, losing all of that weight. But it just felt like any a lot of people could have played that character for me. It's nothing really stood out other than the physicalness that he brought to it. Except for the dancing. I hated the dancing bit. I thought that was stupid.
Really?
Yeah, I thought it was stupid.
I did.
some of it
Interesting.
worked, some of it was kind of weird, and it's like, okay, it just seems a little too much. I don't know.
For,
It
for
was
if I would have been okay with it if it was not Joker.
Mhm.
But if it's Joker, man, I want a lot more liveliness to the dancing instead of the
The slow.
artistic kind of dancing.
Mm-hmm.
To me,
It was
that
interpretive
felt out
dancing.
of character to what we know as Joker.
What offended you more? Joaquin Phoenix's Joker dancing or Tobey Maguire Spider-Man and Spider-Man 3 dancing?
Three, Spider-Man 3. Okay, that's a
Spider-Man 3 hands
oh my
down.
god.
Yeah, yeah.
I wanted to die during that scene. Well, that's the whole thing. It's like going back to the I guess what you could say the mainstream classical Joker. Um, he always talks about, he if he had a choice, to telling his past, it would be multiple choice. I don't really know if this is. I mean, it's certainly not the Joker, like the traditional dapper gentleman that kind of looks friendly and innocent, but that's like the worst mistake you could ever make. The same thing with like Heath Ledger and Jared Leto and Leto, and Joaquin Phoenix. Like you wouldn't approach any of these people. There's nothing harmless seeming. Even
Right.
Nicholson's Joker seemed harmless to an extent, but um, I don't I don't think this is the Joker. I don't think it really fits into anything. That's why I really feel like you could strip all that stuff away and it'd just be fine as it is without any of the DC character trappings.
Right. You could just call it clown or something
Yeah,
like that because that
clowning around or
going
something.
going in, I had such a hard time with going back to. I'm watching a Joker movie. I'm watching a Joker movie. I'm watching somebody who, one, we have years and decades of canon that he is very good at engineering chemicals
Mm-hmm.
and poisonous gas and things like that. He's on an intellect level like nobody else in a way, but he's also maddening crazy at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So many different layers of it, and I'm like, I can't get that coming from this guy. I can't
Mm-hmm.
see that progressing eventually into what I see as Joker from this being the beginning point. I just see a madman who was a clown holding a sign thing, so he doesn't have a whole lot of skill sets, um,
No,
and
barely literate.
his mental, yeah, barely literate, his mental capacity, IQ level or whatever just isn't there to where it could convince me that I'm watching Joker.
Yeah.
And that's
Well,
the thing. It's a Joker. I don't necessarily feel like it's the Joker. And again, it goes to that whole unreliable thing. And that's one thing they did do very well, I think, in the movie, because there's a lot of scenes like, the girlfriend and even going up on stage the first time, talking to Murray, all that stuff you find out it's a, well, again, spoilers, it's a straight up lie. None of that ever happened.
Right.
And even at the end of the day, the fact that we're seeing this origin, how much of it's fabricated? It could be an Elseworld story for all we know. It's just how
and
much of that
that's
actually did happen.
and that's why I enjoyed it. It's one of those. It felt like when a new writer and a new artist take on and do like a limited series take on a character that it's not what's been done before. It has echoes and shades, but it's kind of a new thing. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And I just allowed myself to enjoy this as a one-off um, telling of an idea of what a Joker origin story could be.
Mm-hmm.
And not tie it into the Joker I know, the Joker I've seen, or the Joker I expect. I literally just went in there and took what the Joker they gave me, and I enjoyed uh, the pain and the brutalness that he there's and this the movie's not like brutal. It's not like this like hard R like nothing but brains being splattered every 10 seconds kind of thing. It's very well placed and very specific to characters and works as needed. They don't exploit it. They don't glorify it. It just happens, and I enjoyed that part of it. Um, yeah, is this our Joker? No. Is it an interesting tale through a different lens? I thought so. You still may not agree, but I thoroughly enjoyed the movie of just what it was given to me um, as another person's idea of what it could be. I mean, because you remember when Batman '89 came out, that wasn't the Batman we grew up on, you know.
No.
But we still loved him. We forgave the pomp and or the creative license that Tim Burton took to tell his version of a Batman story. And he made the Joker, you know, his parents' killer and stuff that had never been in the comics before and stuff that never happened before, but nobody was like, you know, well, there might have been a few.
I can remember people
But there
walking
was
down
no,
the street during Batmania.
yeah, but there was no internet then, so we didn't hear them as much.
Right.
No,
um,
they just wrote in petitions.
right. Um, but it gave a, another artist interpretation of something we grew up with and knew, and I approached this the same way. Um, just accepting what was given to me through someone else's eye, and that's how you to enjoy this. I think you have to approach this movie. And I have dead silence. Nobody agrees with me. That's awesome.
I'm
No.
just waiting for someone to start doing the slow clap, and then everyone. I was waiting for like that 80s movie thing. Um, I'll kind of follow up on that, and I don't want to take the floor too much on that, but as I said, I didn't have a problem with Joaquin Phoenix's thing. I mean, there were some parts where facially, especially there were certain ways that his facial structure, the way he carried himself, I could almost see like the Brian Bolland artwork from like The Killing Joke. I think he made a good Joker, kind of awkward and gangly and everything else. The real tragedy of that is we're going to be seeing that version of Joker for the next 5 years for Halloween.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to be seeing that for the rest of our lives. Um, but again, it's just I had to disconnect because I'm such a weird sticklery purist about so many things, and I struggled with that, and then I had to kind of learn how to get over it. Um, there were some things I really appreciated about this new Joker. I appreciated that it was a very much a character-driven story. I mean, granted, the first initial steps of his deterioration into a monster, I kind of felt like it was kind of a standard checklist. It was like the whole lost his job, you know, he lives with his mom, you know, it's all the tropes that you hear about crazy person, and he kind of fell for that. And then they, after a while, they got through that, and they started exploring his character a little bit more in different ways, which I think I kind of appreciated more. I think kind of like, you know, when they started when he went to Arkham and started really finding out the background of his character. I guess you could kind of say that was tropey too, but it was a little bit more like substance, I guess, versus like just the other standardized stuff you always hear for quote unquote crazy person. Uh, but again, it goes back to my point. It's just like Joker made what, like 90. You're always the money guy, Danny. It made like what,
I think
93
93
million?
million, something like that for the opening weekend, not
Yeah,
including the foreign box office.
like, but just remove all those DC comic trappings, and would it have even gone into a mainstream movie theater? Would have been some art house thing. You know,
Right. I
if
think I think it would have gone more indie film, but the
yeah,
buzz would have built up.
yeah.
I feel like there would have been that type of buzz.
It was, and it probably, you know, I know they're talking about Oscar worthy for Joaquin Phoenix. I mean, I don't know. It's like we still have a couple months this year before it's over. I'm not calling anything, but it's just the whole thing. It's like, you know, a lot of the mainstream films that we watch these days are comic book movies, and it's like, would this have had as much of an impact if it didn't have trappings to it. Could you sell that to a modern theater audience without the DC, the Marvel, the occasional indie comic? And I'm just like, that's how he had to tell his story. He knew it would just be some side thing, but you stick a popular comic license on it, and then suddenly people are bouncing up and down versus the clown or laughing boy or the clown who cries.
And
or whatever
and that's
the hell
kind of
it is.
sad, it's kind of sad that we're at that point now that we're, filmmakers can't take the risks anymore like they could 10, 20 years ago.
And it's not that they're afraid, it's just they can't take the risk. What, Disney owns like 65%
Of the overall box office
now?
now. Yeah.
Or the IPs you can use to.
Yeah, exactly.
And then actually, let me go back to what Kaiser brought up, Batman 1989. For me, that film set like what I had expected, because the year prior to that, The Killing Joke had come out, 1988. That really set a new tone for the Batman universe, and so to see
Dark Knight Returns.
Right, Dark Knight Returns. So to see
You're
that
talking
go,
tone, but not following the character.
but it did, that Batman the 89 one felt more like the character that I had read in a comic in 88, The Killing Joke, than the campy stuff that I'd seen on TV from the 60s show. That's
definitely.
how we hadn't. So that's all we had to go by from that type of media or whatever. Whereas with Joker, we've kind of seen various different iterations of it already.
We've had outstanding performances for multiple performers.
Right.
Basically, Nicholson and
And Ledger, yeah.
Ledger, yeah. I can't believe I brain farted on Heath Ledger. I am sorry. Don't.
He's gonna haunt you now.
Great.
It's Halloween, so yeah, it's Halloween time, so you need a ghost.
Yeah. So we've had two amazing Jokers for their own purposes.
Right.
Which one's better is that's up to your own taste.
Yeah, it's always debate because
they're both iconic performances.
Right, and there's debate now with where Joaquin kind of fits in all of that.
Yeah.
But it's like I would be so interested, like if I could go to another dimension, universe, or whatever, to kind of see how this movie would have done if it didn't have the Joker theme to it. If it was just something else, like Guy said, Funny Man or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
And see, Happy Face or something. See how it would have played out. That I would love to have seen.
Now,
seen
Baltimore, you've seen it the most recent of us, so it's a little fresher on your mind.
Yes.
And also notably the most quiet of the group tonight.
Right.
Right. So you're not going to offend me if you completely disagree.
Oh, that's fine.
I welcome it.
I mean, there are a lot of. So it's a very interesting film. It is very arty in style, and I appreciate that, and I like that he took, the risk to make a film like this, with this character and so forth. The challenges we had with Venom, where you're like, how can you have Venom without Spider-Man?
Yeah.
And they did, and it worked. We have the same question here with Joker. How can you have Joker without the Batman? Well, they're like, we're gonna put him in there anyway. And like you said, I would have been so happy if they had not done any of the Wayne stuff. Just let it lie. Don't, because you come to rely on it, and it's because then they do these like teasy, like weird, like sort of.
Ooh, he slid down a pole.
Real quick thought. It's like Bruce Wayne's a little kid and Joker's like a 30-year-old man. He's gonna be by the time Batman.
Yeah, how's he gonna take punches from Batman?
Yeah.
Not well.
Not well at all.
Not well.
Yeah.
Yeah, he could take a beating now.
He's
but
collecting Social
20
Security
years-
by the time Bruce is grown up and being the Dark Knight.
Right. But it's, I mean, as just a standalone story, they timing the birth of Batman and the birth of Joker simultaneously was interesting.
Can't have one without the other.
Exactly, and saying like they literally always existed at the same moment, like they were literally created at the same time. Like he literally stands up and realizes who he is and what he like his potential and like all the pretense and all the trying and all the like social norm, satisfying is gone, and he looks around, reborn in the fire and chaos that his actions initially caused, just due to social unrest, but spawned this movement, which isn't new. They did that on Gotham, the TV series. The Joker was a movement and had kind of a cult and a gang that, fantasized and worshipped the idea of the Joker. But artistically, I was like, I appreciate it, okay, but Joaquin was too old to be born within the same moment as Batman, realistically, but in a standalone movie, it's like, okay, I'll accept it.
It'd be weird if some 10-year-old kid also went batshit insane at the same time, so it's like...
Exactly.
Because that'd just be super creepy.
Literally batshit insane.
Yeah, that was an unintentional pun, but you know what? I'm taking it. You know?
So yeah, it's like I'm not a harsh critic, and I enjoyed it for what it was. I enjoyed, especially coming out of the glut of Marvel-coded movies, to get a different flavor, a different tone of anything. This wasn't DC trying to be Marvel. This was just DC telling a story. And that's all I want. Tell us your stories. Find a director, find an actor, find a cinematographer, find a sound designer that can all come together and give me something that echoes something I know and then gives me something I didn't expect. And that's what this was for me. So I absolutely loved it. I love what's the term for the laughing disorder he had?
It was called pseudo-bulbar effect. It's like where he uncontrollably laughs. I didn't know if that was like a real thing. I had to look that up. Just like, do people uncontrollably laugh? And I guess same thing for crying. And I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that was an interesting little tidbit there.
And he wasn't. He was. They try to like, oh, they're making the villain sympathetic. Well, yeah, a good villain you do sympathize with. The only good Marvel villains are the ones that you sympathize with. Everyone's like, Kilgore or Killmonger in Black Panther because he had a point. You can sympathize with where he was coming from. The I'm evil and I'm good, I'm good and I'm gonna stop you. That doesn't play anymore. We need layers, and we need to feel for both sides and feel conflict. And I think this movie set up a universe where that conflict would exist, and I'm perfectly okay with that. Although Batman would literally kill him the first punch.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you have the question of where do you go from here? Like, how does Joker 2 even happen? Like, why would it even happen?
You don't.
Yeah,
He just
I
told
I don't.
another story.
Yeah, I think Luther is the next one, and it's Lex, or maybe Lex or Luther.
Please
And
tell me it's not with what's his name.
It's Mr. Mixelplick is our next DC artsy.
I, in a heartbeat, would go see a Mixelplick movie.
I would enjoy
How
that.
the hell would you do that?
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, I want to see the director. I want to see the director and the writer with the balls to do a Mixelplex movie.
It'll be Michael
All
Bay.
Mixelplex.
Explosions and boobies everywhere.
I like explosions and boobies.
It was Taxi Driver with the Joker coating on it. I mean, that's kind of what
Yep.
it was. Visually, I thought it was really nicely done.
The Warner Brother logo.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Sold me, yeah.
I loved that, the old 70s, 80s style Warner Brother logo.
Yeah, I had to look around and see. Am I in a TV? Like, is this a VCR? Somebody put a VCR in?
For classic movies before. So I was like, oh, this must be another one or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
The one scene I like that I think they did the most direct reference from The Dark Knight Returns was when he was in he went to Murray's show for real, not in his mind, and he was sitting next to the Dr. Ruth Westheimer like character, and that was directly from Dark Knight Returns, the way he sat and everything. I was just waiting for him to say, "I'm going to kill everyone in this room." I was like sitting there just kind of waiting. I thought that was going to be the most direct reference to it, but they didn't do it. They did their own thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And I love that, he showed he was cognitive enough to go like, you know what? I know why you had me on your show. I know you only had me on here to make fun of me and to perpetuate the joke you made of me. And you're going to pay for it. I like that as like his, you know what? I'm on a new path now.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it. I love this movie. I'm sorry. I love this movie.
I think they could have saved some money with recasting instead of having
De Niro.
Robert De Niro in that part. I think they could have saved some money and just got somebody else.
Get Martin Short as Jiminy Glick.
Why would you say these things?
Because I was just like, talk show host guy. It's not a whole lot. Why use a big name?
Wasn't he Taxi Driver?
Yes,
exactly.
he was.
Like,
he was,
it's
and
like,
maybe that's why it was a nod. It could have been a nod to it.
Yeah, it's like we're not trying to hide the fact we're just Taxi Driver with Joker. Look, we actually have Robert De Niro.
Well, it was one of his credentials. They're going for that Academy Award, Oscar sort of thing. They're going to do whatever they can to legitimize this movie and take it up to that, step. I mean,
Right.
Black Panther got close to, getting to that point where it's like one of the first comic book film to be nominated.
I think so.
For Best Picture. Now that they know that door's open, they're going to keep trying now.
Right.
Especially that's what's dominating.
And that seems to have pissed Martin Scorsese off.
Yeah.
Apparently. But I just thought he hated MCU films.
No, it's all of them.
I think it's all comic book ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Whatever. They're movies.
He's entitled to his opinion just like we are.
Exactly.
So.
He's wrong.
He can cry himself with that Godfather money.
Take that,
Scorsese. Yeah, just dab those tears away with that Godfather residuals.
Our Wii channel says you ain't got it.
So let's get just a sound off all around. I know we're coming from different places on this, so let's go. Guy, you're in the top left corner, correct?
I am.
Yep, he's up there.
Last time I checked.
He's right up there.
Overall, I liked it. I thought Joaquin Phoenix's performance was very good. I thought it was really well shot, and I thought it was nice to see a character drama. My only thing is I would have liked to see the type of film this could have been without the Joker coating on it. I wondered how it would have fared without that, and that's...
It just would have been The Fanatic.
Oh God, nothing is nothing. Moose is in the house. Oh God, stop it.
You started it.
Yeah, thanks, Kaiser. You brought back my fanatic memories. Uh, I think I liked it. It would have been interesting to see the sort of film it could have been without the Joker coding, but that's an alternate reality we don't get to visit. So I'm fine with what's there.
All right.
All right, Baltimore.
Um, well, I actually agree with you. Absolutely agree with you, Guy. About I would have much rather seen this film sans Joker completely. I think it was more interesting if you don't think of him as the Joker, but you just think of him as someone who legitimately shows you how things are affecting society under taking care of mental illness. All those issues were spot on and really resonated. I just didn't need to see it with the Joker. I thought he did a fine job. I love the cinematography. I love the way the look of the film. Um, I just never cared for the Joker as a character, um, and so it made me even more. It made it even more of a challenge to enjoy this. Um,
So you're
but
saying you never enjoyed the Joker as a character, period, or you never enjoyed the Joker as a character in this movie?
period. Like,
Okay.
if there's a level of villains that I like, he's not one of them.
Right.
Like, I just don't. I think there's some interesting things about him, but it's like I have more villain characters that I appreciate more. Luthor, Magneto, you know, Thanos, even, or Red Skull. Like, those are more appealing villains for me.
He hates clowns.
He's not down with the clown.
I am not down to clown.
Hashtag not down with the clown.
We need to really catalog all these hashtags we've invented already. We're really wasting this opportunity, and they should be on every post we do.
We really are.
Let's just go back and watch all 800 videos we've done.
So I said it. I love the movie. I think I approached it from a different mindset as everyone else. I literally just took this in as a standalone interpretation of a known character. I like the cheesy little bullshit nods they gave. Like when he slid down the pole, I was making fun of it earlier, but inside I'm like, oh my god, he slid down the pole. It's Batman.
Oh, I appreciated it. I'm not gonna lie.
It's like it's a little Adam West.
Mm-hmm.
Well played, old chum.
Was that Alfred at the gate?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I couldn't remember them actually calling him Alfred.
No, I don't think they did actually. Credits did.
No, they never. Yeah, didn't like that casting at all.
Yeah, I was totally like, that's not my Alfred.
Yeah, and the whole getting like against the gate. I'm like, dude, that guy's got military experience. He would do it. Be like, get back,
exactly.
Get back, Jack.
Yes, you wanted Gilbert Gottfried as Alfred.
Oh my god.
No, you can't talk to Mr. Wayne.
You can't talk to Mr. Wayne.
You can't be shaking people. It's crazy. What are you, some kind of asshole? You just make me sick.
You need to watch. You need to watch the new Critters, even though it's awful. He's on that new Critters on Shudder. It's hilarious.
Oh my god, there's the new Critters. Oh wait, we're talking about Joker.
Yeah, we're on Joker.
Alfred.
So you loved it.
Sorry, Gilbert Gottfried.
You loved it.
I loved it. Danny.
Yeah, I'm.
Take us home.
I'm there with more of Baltimore, but I agree with Guy with the whole. I would have enjoyed this film a lot more had it not had the Joker license attached to it. It harkens back to me the movie Fallen Down with Michael Douglas, which I loved. I mean, I had that when it came on DVD. That was like one of the first movies I bought.
That movie,
because
I literally, that movie popped in my head as I was watching it.
that's what it felt like. This was a modern day falling down to me, where, but they applied Joker to it, and that's where I had the problem with. For me, I don't want to be explained how Joker became Joker. I'm fine with he is the Lord of Chaos, and that's it. The man doesn't have any rhyme or reason to him, and sure,
which is kind of the point of the character.
Right.
He's the antithesis of the logical, brain-driven,
right,
logic-driven Batman.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
That whole duality thing with them.
Yeah.
So, but I did appreciate. I understand Joaquin's performance is pretty good. I don't think it's 8 minutes stand up ovation
Wasn't it
worthy.
17 minutes? I thought it was 17.
Whatever, but people stood up for a long time and clapped.
If you
I don't.
listen outside, you can still hear him clapping to this very day.
I'm like I don't know about that. I've seen performances that were better than that, more deserving than that in other films. But I enjoyed the tone of it. I enjoyed the sets and just the grittiness of what a 70s Gotham would feel like. I enjoyed that a lot. But I would have enjoyed that more in like a 70s Batman movie or something than this. I would have enjoyed this more if it was more like this is a 1970s telling of falling down with some guy and he just happens to be a clown with the sign thing, and he loses it. So
you're hung up on that sign thing, aren't you?
Well, I mean that's the whole thing. He was hung up on it. He ran ridiculously. I would said, I'll pay the $5 or whatever that stupid sign costs. Take it out of my page.
Big damn deal about that sign though.
Yeah,
he's going out of business. He's got that sign. What? That sign's like what? $3?
Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
It's the
Coming
70s.
out here, check.
Which is probably minuscule, and he probably couldn't have afforded.
It's like 3 regular hamburgers at McDonald's back then.
I would have chased after it though. I'd have gone and like started begging for money. Can you pay for the sign that I just lost?
Just go down to Michael's MJ Designs and
Please.
go.
Please.
All right, so it's a mixed bag here, but this is the kind of movie that's the audiences will be mixed on. You're gonna love it, you'll hate it, you'll think it's okay. I think you should watch it and decide for yourself.
I agree with that.
No, just take our word for it.
Take my word for it.
Our word for it. The word for it.
Our word is split.
No, you need to go see it and judge for yourself.
Same as I'm
see
gonna
it.
say.
See it, don't see it.
Right.
See
I said
it?
what I said.
Cover your eyes.
Maybe listen to some of it, and then I don't know. Maybe like switch, watch it, and then just wait for the next Batman spin-off movie, Alfred, with Gilbert Gottfried.
Right.
Dear Lord.
Mr. Lane! I got those pancakes you wanted! I can't do...
I got those pancakes you wanted.
There you go.
I watched Aladdin recently, the good one, not the BS one.
So that's our take on the Joker. What did you think? Did it need more Gilbert Gottfried?
Get a load of me.
Leave your comments down below. Or hit us up on... What was that? Huh? What?
I was just saying, this town needs an enema.
Yes!
This town needs an enema. Do you want to see my disappearing pencil trick?
At Total Geek Live on Twitter and Instagram and the social medias out there.
Friendster, MySpace, all the dead ones.
Like Gilbert Gottfried's career. Thank you so so much
Oh,
for
they
watching.
don't hate.
As always, it's all geek to us.
It's all geek to us. I'm parrot now. I'm so ticked off that I'm molting.